Actually, day before yesterday, I was in touch with this subject, but then yesterday I had no choice.
Okay.
So, those factors, right? In
Yes.
depth, he started.
So in the end of chapter 5, there are very good coaching questions, like coaching questions, which can help summarize all the chapter number 5. So if we go
Mm-hmm.
through it once more, I think then it can help. So do you think we should go through it once more?
Yeah, that would also be a good revision for myself, also.
Yeah. So you
Yeah,
can read it out.
yeah. Uh, I just want once again try to focus on this breakthrough. It's reaching to the highest point, kind of thing, right?
Not, we cannot say highest point, but a significant transformation,
Okay,
which is like out of proportion to the efforts being put in.
okay. Yeah. Should I start?
Yeah.
How to achieve a career breakthrough? You can take your career to the next level while investing in the rest of your life. But doing this requires more thought than simply working around the clock. Ask yourself these questions. What would the next level look like for you? Picture it as vividly as possible. Do you know anyone else who has achieved a similar breakthrough? What steps did he or she take? Who were the decision makers? What do these people care about? How many of your working hours are you spending focused on the stuff of your professional craft? Do you have time to plan and prospect? If not, go back to chapter 4 and see if you can figure out ways to create more space in your professional calendar. If this doesn't work, see if you can add a focused hour or two per day. How could you make this happen? How would you use this time? What is your story? Why does achieving the next level make sense? If someone were to write a profile of you, what would it say? Do other people know about your goals? What seeds can you plant to advance your career in the future? If you were given a chance opportunity to achieve your breakthrough, would you be prepared to seize it? What needs to happen for you to be prepared? If you did achieve your breakthrough, what would you do next?
So there were like 6 major topics in the last chapter, and this
Okay.
is the essence of all these 6 topics. So these are very meaningful questions. We need to give some time, like reflect, sit with these
Mm-hmm.
questions. तो वैसे करने वाला है आराम से. One can take half a day
Yes.
also, one or full day.
Yes.
So do you think any question which you would like to reflect or add some input?
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I can assertively work on this question. Like, how many of your working hours are you spending focused on the stuff of your professional craft?
Yes.
Because due to this lot of distractions, especially in this digital world, we at times cheat ourselves knowingly or unknowingly. To what extent we are working on the core professional thing. So when you are aware of this particular working hours, I think the progress would be little more, and you would get the clarity to answer the other questions as well. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, for my perception, that's the question I'm trying to work on it.
So there are two, three more terms which we can connect with what you have just said. One is
Mm-hmm.
the specialization. The more special
Okay.
you are in your field, more demand will be. And one more
Okay.
is niche, micro niche, rather.
Micro niche. Okay.
हाँ. जैसे कि
Yeah.
सपोज कोई भी किसी का प्रोफेशन है, मान लो कोई कहता है मैं डॉक्टर हूँ, तो इट डज नॉट मेक एनी सेंस. लेकिन कोई कहता है
Yes.
मैं नेफ्रोलॉजिस्ट हूँ,
Mm-hmm.
इट मेक्स लिटिल बिट सेंस. लेकिन कोई कहता है कि मैं पीडियाट्रिक नेफ्रोलॉजिस्ट हूँ,
Mm-hmm.
देन इट मेक इवन मोर सेंस कि अच्छा ये बहुत ही स्पेशलाइज्ड है ये.
Yes. Yes. Specialized. Yes. Yes.
तो कोई अभी कहे कि मैं एआई एक्सपर्ट हूँ, तो डज नॉट मेक एनी सेंस।
Mm-hmm.
लेकिन कोई कहे कि मैं इस इंडस्ट्री के लिए प्रॉम्प्ट इंजीनियर हूँ,
Yes.
तो इट मेक लिटिल बिट सेंस। तो ऐसे ही
Mm-hmm.
हर एक को सोचना है कि मेरा सुपर स्पेशलाइजेशन या मेरा माइक्रो निश क्या है,
Okay. Okay.
और ना सिर्फ वो मेरे को पता हो, डू अदर पीपल नो अबाउट माई गोल्स, मैं उसमें जो काम कर रहा हूँ वो औरों को भी बताया कि नहीं।
Mm-hmm.
तो इस
Okay.
तरह से कोई शेयर करना चाहेंगे अगर आपका कोई माइक्रो निश या स्पेशलाइजेशन है तो?
Mm, I don't know. I'm not getting answers from the other people over here. Okay.
ओके, सो वी कैन रिफ्लेक्ट अबाउट इट। तो ना
Mm-hmm.
अभी हम सेकंड नेक्स्ट चैप्टर पे चलते हैं।
Yeah.
तो इसमें बेसिकली ये बताया गया है, अगर मैं थोड़ा ओवरव्यू दे दूं इसका, तो कि पर्टिकुलरली वुमेन का टाइम दो जगह डिवाइड होता है, वर्क में और घर पे।
Yes.
और इस पैटर्न में जो चेंज आया है ओवर ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ लॉन्ग पीरियड, और
Mm-hmm.
उसमें जिस वजह से चेंज आया है टेक्नोलॉजी की वजह से, या जॉइंट फैमिली, न्यूक्लियर फैमिली हो गई, या बहुत सारे रीजंस और भी हैं इसके, बहुत सारा माइग्रेशन हो गया, या वैल्यूज़ चेंज हो गई, तो उसकी वजह से टाइम के एलोकेशन में क्या चेंज आया है, वो इस चैप्टर में मेन बात है।
Okay.
तो सभी ये ध्यान रख सकते हैं कि हम अपना घर पे कितना टाइम देते हैं और किन चीज़ों में टाइम देते हैं, क्या वो हमारे कोर कॉम्पिटेंसी वाली चीज़ें हैं।
Mm-hmm.
जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल, मान लो पहले, आज से 10 साल पहले, कोई घर में बैठ के कोई वीमेन, दो चार लोग मिलके पापड़ बना रहे हैं या अचार डाल दिया,
Mm-hmm.
क्योंकि बहुत टाइम है उनके पास। लेकिन
Yes.
आजकल की फीमेल वो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते हैं, जो वर्किंग वेमेन है। वो बाहर से परचेज कर लेंगे या गांव से कहीं से मंगा लेंगे अगर उनका इन लॉज का घर है तो। लेकिन वो अपने
True.
कोर कॉम्पिटेंसीज पे ध्यान देंगे, किस पे, बच्चे को 1 घंटे होमवर्क कराना है।
Yes.
तो उस तरह की चीज़ इसमें है, तो उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में इसको हम देखेंगे। वी
Okay.
कैन वी कैन
Yeah. The new home economics. Walk into the cleaning supplies aisle of many grocery stores these days, and you'll soon bump into a woman's named Mr. Mayor. Cartoon images of her keeping house peek out from sleek bottles of Mrs. Mayor lemon verbena all purpose cleaner, as if she intends to inspire you to get that last spot of dust off the shelves. When I first heard about Mrs. Mayor, I thought she sounded like a brilliant marketing invention. A more grandmotherly Mr. Clean, perhaps, designed to intrigue consumers hungry for authenticity in a world of packaged goods. But it turns out that Mrs. Mayor is actually a real person. Thelma Mayer is an empty nester now, which means her life is much calmer than it was back in 1965 when she presided over one fairly clean Iowa house and a brood of nine rambunctious children. Clearly, this involved a lot of work. Despite her more recent role as the face of a line of cleaning products, Mrs. Mayer was relaxed about housekeeping. My house has never been my top priority, she told me in an interview recently. But still, you were just kind of busy all the day. Since she didn't own a dishwasher until she delivered baby number 5, there were always plates to be scrubbed and dried. She did own a washing machine. Thank goodness she did more than 15 loads of laundry a week. But without a highly functional dryer, she wound up pinning plenty of wet cloths onto the clothesline outside. She swept the floors and wiped down the kitchen sink every day. She dusted the banisters, light fixtures, furnitures, and shelves every week, a task that grew in scope as the babies came and her husband Vern expanded their two-bedroom Cape Cod into a five-bedroom house with an upstairs family room, which she confessed she didn't bother to inspect too often. The regular maintenance of caring for 9 children and a home vacuumed up time While she doesn't call it drudgery, it was just something that had to be done, she says. It was laborious. The children helped, but giving her family's finances and culture of the era, even her leisure pursuits kept her busy. When the little ones napped, she sewed dresses for the girls or made her own maternity cloths. She gardened to supplement the family food budget. When her friends came over to play bridge, she baked lots of treats, which the kids crawled over one another to lap up the next morning. All this labor left little time for other things. For instance, when I asked how she managed to spend time playing with each of the 9 kids, she laughed. That's something that probably did not get done, she said. She did what she could, getting one in the car on an errand, or two reading stories and saying prayers together before bedtime. But these modern notions of intense individual attention would have seemed foreign in a mere mid century household. While Mrs. Mayer's brood was large, it wasn't too rare for the time. Her sister had 13 children. The total US fertility rate, the number of babies the average woman could expect to have over her lifetime, hit an average of almost 4 children per woman in 1950s. Judging by my collection of old good housekeeping magazines from the era, Mrs. Mayer's housekeeping labors were also par for the course. When we talked, Mr. May described elaborate rituals for cleaning the Venetian blinds in the bathtub and washing fiberglass drapes. The December 1958 Good Housekeeping contains these instructions on the proper care for electric blankets. I think the author is just trying to tell that how this ladies in the mid centuries has taken care of the children and her house as well, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And Rahul, if anyone is interested, just ask them to raise their hands or put a message because everyone wants to get a chance to read, right? So if no one is there, I'm going ahead.
Okay, anyone? Surajkant, would you like to? Little bit?
Yes, yes, sir, I can.
Okay.
It is near from the Phil Washer.
Uh,
Well, Washer.
Fill washer with lukewarm suds or use cold water and a cold water wool washing detergent. Let blanket soak 10 to 15 minutes. Then agitate 1 to 3 minutes. Spin just long enough water to drain from washer. Fill again for rinsing. Agitate 1 minute. Spin again. If blanket still looks sudsy, repeat rinse. Spread Spread blanket over two parallel clothesline to dry. When it's almost dry, brush lightly to lift nap. Press binding with iron set at synthetic or rayon. In addition to these elaborate cleaning rituals, women of the 1950s and 1960s spent a lot of time baking for their bridge groups and friends. That same December 1958 issue of Good Housekeeping contains half a dozen recipes in section called "And Now to Go with Coffee." The most intriguing one end of the rainbow cake is actually a 2-day ordeal that, though allowing for the use of white cake mix, calls for the industrious housewife to tint crust pineapple pale yellow, brighten raspberry jam with red coloring, tint whipped cream grain, and mix egg white, sugar, water, corn syrup, and salt in a double boiler over rapidly boiling water until they form a stiff peak, 7 to 10 minutes, only to find out in the last step that the cake must refrigerate for at least 6 hours. The editor of the magazine also assumed everyone sued. A needlework page discusses what to do should you discover to your horror that you have nothing to wear to a Christmas party. Well, here's an easy solution. The text reads, an outrageously flattering little party top you can make in a morning. What follows in a pattern calling for stitching on 4 and 3/4 yards of Franken trimming metallic gold and black braid to some wool squares of fabric, mitring corners, and securing the edges with seam binding. Women of the era certainly knew that housekeeping could be labor intensive, though the modern habit of warning readers how much hands on time and total time each project takes was years away in December 1965. Good Housekeeping ran an article titled 75 Ways to Save Time During the Holidays. But even this little implies a level of standard that seems foreign now. Number 24 on the list is cut raisins and dates with kitchen shares. I have been wrecking my brain to figure out why raisins might need to be smaller than they already are. Number 29 is sift dry ingredients on waxed paper, not in bowls. If you are undertaking such serious recipes, you clearly don't want anything to go wrong, which may be why number 35 is provide interesting toys or books for small children to keep them out of the kitchen. Christmas cookie baking being far too serious an enterprise to share with your offsprings. Mrs. Mayer had a slightly different philosophy. Not living up to women's magazine ideals is nothing new. For instance, from the time baby number three, a little girl named Monica could hold a spoon, Mrs. Mayer allowed her to cook and clean alongside mommy. Mrs. Mayer remembered that Monica was quite good at it. She was really a homemaker, she says. She really wanted to follow in my uh, footsteps in cleaning. But Monica Mayer Nassif, founder of the Caldria company, which launched the Mrs. Mayer brand of home products, did not grow up to spend a high proportion of her time cleaning. Indeed, her life has looked very little like Mrs. Mayer's, from children to careers to housework. Nassif's life and the popularity of her products has shown how drastically the economics of home and family and how we use our 168 hours have changed over the years. Social science statistics are inherently fuzzy, but do we know this? Women today, like Nassif, spend a lot more time working for pay than they did 40 years ago. And when Mrs. Mayer was running her home in 1965, 38.5% of women aged 25 to 34 were in the labor force, that is, doing or seeking paid work, as were 46.1% of women aged 35 to 44. By 2005, those numbers were up to for 73.9% and 75.8% respectively. This rise has cut across all demographic groups. The vast majority of mothers of young kids are now in the labor force to some extent, and even most moms married to men earning more than $120,000 a year work outside the home. Here's another statistics we know is true from Time Dairy studies. Moms and dads spend more time interacting with their children these days than they did in 1965. According to an analysis of the old Americans, use of time study done by University of Maryland researchers, and different than the other and different than the modern BLS American time use study. In 1965, married moms spent a total of 10.6 hours per week on child care, 9.1 on routine activities like dressing and bathing, 1.5 on interactive ones including reading and playing. Married fathers spent 2.6 hours, 1.3 on routine, 1.2 on interactive, with some rounding issues causing the slight total discrepancy. By 2000, this had risen to 12.9 hours total for married mothers, 9.5 and 3.3, and 6.5 hours for married fathers, 4.1 and 2.4.
थोड़ा सा यहाँ
While
पॉज लेते
these
हैं.
are Mhm.